Good afternoon, everybody. This recipe, I figured I would post it because we all go through periods of time where we need to penny pinch a little bit. And this is super inexpensive. It is made with pantry staples, and it makes a big pot of a hearty, I guess you'd call it a stew, that will feed 6 people for, I want to say, probably about $10. Actually less if you already count, having garlic powder, chili powder, salt, and pepper. So anyways, I've got a pound of ground beef that's defrosting here in the freezer because I forgot to take it out. We're going to be using obviously salt and pepper, a little garlic powder, some chili powder. We're not going to be using this whole thing of beef broth, just about 1.5 cups, or what's equivalent to a single can. A can of Campbell's Old Fashioned condensed tomato soup. A can of corn that we're going to drain, and then I've got 4 potatoes here. I usually use 3, but these 2 were on the small side, and that's really what bulks up this stew. So I'm using 4 small potatoes, and we're going to go ahead and peel and dice them, and then 1 large onion, and it could be a yellow onion or a white onion, whatever you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and get these ingredients prepped, peel the tomatoes, peel the potatoes, and chop the onion, and get everything ready to go, and I will be right back. I decided to pop back on for a second because I decided that I needed to add more spices to this. So essentially too, I realized I was running low on like regular old chili powder. If you have different kinds, like I totally believe in having a well-stocked spice cabinet. So I've decided to use actually a tablespoon of ancho chili powder and then a tablespoon of the regular chili powder. So that's totally fine. And I think I'm going to add some smoked paprika and some cumin to this because it definitely has like a Southwest flavor. So I wanted to mention that. And then a little tip that I like to do while I'm cooking that makes things easier, like while this meat is defrosting over here, I go ahead and I measure out the spices and I dump them into whatever's going to go in at the same time. So like I have the chili powder like chilling out on top of this tomato soup. And then I will also probably, if I can fit it on there, dump these in there. That way when that time comes, the children are screaming and someone's crying and someone's taken their diaper off and has decided to paint with poop, all you have to do is take your can of soup with your spices and dump it in. So anyways, I'm back to prepping the ingredients after I wanted to add that afterthought. Okay, so we're heating up our pan, and I wanted to mention this because I've seen so many people who don't take the time to warm their pans before adding their oil, and that's just not the correct way to do it. You need to heat up your pan first and then heat your oil. So I'm just going to put about a tablespoon. That's probably more because I was drizzling while I was talking and not paying attention. So now I'm going to go ahead and now this oil got nice and hot pretty fast. We're going to add our onion that is diced up. Not really small. It's not minced. It's just a regular old diced. And then we're going to saute it until it is translucent before adding in our ground beef. And you're more than welcome to use fresh garlic or add any other veggies you want to this recipe. But like I said, we're trying to penny pinch this week, and this is something that I literally whipped up based off of ingredients we already had in our pantry. So maybe people don't have fresh garlic, This recipe is like 8 ingredients without the spices. Like I think it's like 11 with the spices. So super simple, easy meal to get on the table for the family on a weeknight on a budget. So I'm going to let these go until they start to turn translucent, and then I'll throw the ground beef and the garlic powder in, and I'll be back once they've started to brown. I've added the ground beef to the pan, and I've mixed it in with the onions, and I'm starting to season. One thing that's really important is if I stop saying first of all, and second of all is to make sure you season on the way up. So when I started the onions, I added a little pinch of salt and some black pepper. And the reason you add a pinch of salt to your onions is because it helps remove the liquid more quickly. So they cook more fast. They cook faster. And as you add each ingredient, obviously your recipe is going to need more salt and more pepper. So it's important to season on the way up and also taste periodically, obviously when there's not any raw meat in the pan. to ensure that you have the correct amount of seasoning in your dish. So I'm just going to continue to break this up. I like to brown my ground beef like pretty hard just because I feel like it lends to a better texture. You have the option to drain the beef after it, but this is, I want to say, 80-12 or something like that. I'm so bad at math. I don't know. This is all right ground beef, and since it's going to be a stew, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave the fat in there because it'll just add extra flavor to the finished product. So I'm going to continue to let this brown, and I will be back in a moment where we're literally just going to dump the rest of our ingredients in there, cover it up with the top, and let it simmer. So we're almost done. All right, y'all. So I'm going to start dumping in here. As you can see, there's barely any fat. So, like, I'm not going to bother trying to get that out of there because we've also cooked this beef with the onion and with the garlic, which has given it a lot of flavor. And I think if we dump that fat, it's going to lose some of that. So here I'm going to add my can of tomato soup with all of my spices in there. And in here I have 2 tablespoons of chili powder, a half of a teaspoon of cumin, and about a half of a teaspoon of smoked paprika. So we'll go ahead and dump that in there. And then I'm actually, to take advantage of what's inside of this cup, because I'm cheapy like that, going to just go ahead and start filling up this cup with the beef broth. So that way we just get all of the soup that's in the bottom there. So first I'm going to start off with 1 can. And we might end up adding a little bit more depending on the consistency that we're looking for. But this is more, it's almost like the consistency of a chili. You know, that's why it's called beef stew, south of the border beef stew. And the original recipe for this, I think I saw it on campbellskitchen.com. I used to use that website a lot when I first started cooking, like 15 years ago. So you could probably check it out there if you want to. So, okay, so that looks actually pretty good. So I'm going to grab our corn, which we have rinsed and drained. It was just 1 can of corn. And then I'm going to start dumping in our potatoes. I have them diced at a small dice, I would say. Not like small like for corned beef hash, but not like large either. I don't know. Like, I guess like beef stew size. Dude, Celeste, my bestie, if you're watching this, Brian would totally eat this. It's a meat and potatoes type of thing, so you should make it for Brian. Let's get these potatoes in here. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to stir everything together. Starting to look good already. I serve this with some shredded taco cheese, the ones that's like mixed shredded taco cheese, and then you could do sour cream, and of course, because we are a Hispanic family, well, I'm white, but anyways, we always have to have tortillas, so this goes really great. You can even make tacos of it. I guess it's kind of reminiscent of picadillo, actually, if you think about it. Which I'll have to make a video of that for you guys. It's a Mexican-style chipotle flavored ground beef and vegetables dish. My husband loves it, and it's one of the things that I would have never thought was Mexican food. So anyways, back to the point. Everything is mixed in here nicely. I'm going to go ahead and keep this beef broth to the side in case I decide I want it to be soupier. I'm going to raise the heat up a little bit until it comes to a rolling boil. Then I'm going to throw a lid on it and reduce it to like medium low. And then let it go for about 15 to 20 minutes or until those potatoes are tender. And then once that's done, we'll taste it for the seasoning, see if it needs more salt or pepper, and then we'll get it plated up. So I'll be back in a few. Okay, so for the grand finale, this is our finished product. As you can see, like I said, it's pretty thick like a chili. I consider this to be a one-pot meal because it's got potatoes, meat, and a vegetable in there. I did kind of count in my head and add it up based off of the prices here in the Midwest, and I think if you had all the spices, this would cost you probably $6 or $7 to make this. So again, super frugal, makes a big old pot, feeds about 6 dainty eaters, 4 hungry people. And then just as an added bonus, besides this pot and this cutting board, this is our dishes. Like literally that's it. We have 2 measuring spoons, a peeler, and a strainer. So that's my kind of dinner. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you make it, come back and comment or like or subscribe, or I don't know what all these YouTube people say, but do it. Thank you.